This story begins sometime after the Tournament of Power. Although the universe was safe, on Earth, there was an air of silent fear. Everything seemed normal, but Goku was becoming a problem. His power kept growing. One day, while training alone in some distant mountains so as not to bother anyone, Goku tried to activate Ultra Instinct. He didn't do it on purpose. His body simply reacted. In that instant, an invisible wave of energy swept across the entire planet. Buildings and cities trembled, seas overflowed their shores, and the sky turned a dark purple color, as if the world were about to break. The Z-Fighters felt that tremor deep in their bones. Krillin, Tien Shinhan, and even Vegeta felt a terror they had never felt before. It wasn't envy of his power. It was pure panic. They realized that Goku was no longer a warrior protecting Earth. He was a ticking time bomb that could explode and kill them all in a second if he lost control. That same night, they decided to act. They met secretly in the basement of Capsule Corp. Everyone was there with long, serious faces. But what they didn't know was that Piccolo, who was always alert, had noticed their strange movements. Piccolo suppressed his ki to the maximum and stayed glued to the dark ceiling of the laboratory. Listening to every word, what Piccolo heard chilled him to the bone. Krillin, with tears in his eyes but a firm voice, said they could no longer take any risks. He said the next time Goku used that power, the Earth would explode. Yamcha supported the idea, saying that Goku attracted villains and gods who risked their lives again and again. Then Vegeta, with his arms crossed and a cold gaze, said what everyone was thinking but no one dared to say. He said the only safe solution was to kill Goku. But there was a problem. No one could kill Goku in a fight. So Vegeta proposed a trap, an execution without a fight. Bulma had modified the door of the hyperbolic time chamber. She had created a magnetic lock that once closed from the outside was impossible to open from the inside. But that wasn't enough. Vegeta said they would use the Dragon Balls. The plan was to ask Shenron to change the rules of time inside the chamber. They wanted a single day on Earth to equal 1,000,000 years inside, and they planned to leave the door locked for 3 days. That meant Goku would spend 3,000,000 years locked in nothingness. Vegeta clearly stated that the goal was not to lock them up forever, but for them to die of old age in what would only be moments for them. They wanted time to kill them. Piccolo, from the shadows, felt an immense urge to go down and attack them, to scream traitors at them. He knew that if he showed himself, Vegeta and the others would attack him, defeat them together, and the plan would go ahead anyway. He had to be smarter. He had to wait for the right moment to act. The next morning, the trap was put into motion. Bulma called Goku with urgency in her voice. She told him that there was a dimensional rift in the hyperbolic time chamber, and that only someone with his power could go in and seal it with his energy. Goku, being so innocent and always wanting to help his friends, didn't even hesitate. He put 2 fingers to his forehead and immediately teleported to the lookout. But fate wanted things to go wrong. Gohan was at the lookout that day. He had gone to bring Dende some ancient books. When he saw his father arrive and heard the story of the dangerous rift, Gohan became worried. He saw that Mr. Popo and Dende were very nervous, sweating cold. Gohan, sensing that something wasn't right, told his father that he wouldn't let him go alone into a place that could explode. The traitors who were hiding behind the pillars of the lookout turned pale. Krillin whispered that they couldn't do that to Gohan, that he wasn't the target. But Vegeta, with a heart of stone, silenced them all. He said it was already too late to stop, that the Dragon Balls were ready, and that Gohan, with his hidden power, was also becoming an uncontrollable threat. He said if Gohan chose to enter, it would be his own funeral. And so, they let it happen. Goku looked at Gohan, smiled, and told him it was fine, that they would take the opportunity to train a bit while they fixed the problem. Father and son walked toward the door. The moment both of them set foot inside that white dimension, the door slammed shut with a dry, metallic sound. Goku quickly turned around and tried to turn the knob, but it was sealed. Outside, everything happened very fast. Vegeta and the others came out of their hiding places and summoned Shenron right there. The sky darkened across the world. Vegeta wasted no time and shouted the wishes loudly. First, he asked that the door of the hyperbolic time chamber be indestructible for 3 days, and that nothing, not even a god, could open it from the inside. Shenron granted the wish. Then, he asked for the worst, that the time inside the chamber run at a speed of 1,000,000 years for every day that passed on Earth. Shenron shone and said the wish was easy. The dragon's eyes went out, and the balls scattered. The Z-Fighters stood in silence, looking at the closed door. They knew what they had just done. For them, only 3 days would pass, but for Goku and Gohan, it would be an eternity. Vegeta gave the order to leave and wait for time to do its dirty work. Piccolo, who had seen all of this with a broken heart and full of rage, knew that this was his moment. He couldn't open the door. Shenron's magic was absolute. He knew that if he tried to break it, it wouldn't even scratch it. His only hope lay in the stars. Without the traitors seeing him, Piccolo flew at full speed toward the back of the lookout, where Bulma had parked a very fast spaceship in case something went wrong. Piccolo got in, started the engines, and shot off toward outer space, heading for planet Namek. The journey was a nightmare for Piccolo. The ship was fast, but space was immense. Piccolo knew basic math. If 1 day outside was 1,000,000 years inside, that meant that every second he lost traveling, entire weeks passed for Goku and Gohan. He imagined Gohan sitting in nothingness, waiting for someone to open the door, watching his beard grow, how he aged, how he ran out of food. Piccolo screamed in frustration and pushed the ship's engines to the maximum, not caring if they broke down. Finally, he arrived at New Namek. He landed roughly, almost crashing. He ran out of the ship, injured and tired, and asked to speak with Grand Elder Muri. The Namekians, seeing Piccolo so desperate, became frightened. Piccolo told them everything: the betrayal from Goku's friends, the deadly trap, and the 3,000,000 years of confinement. The Namekians did not hesitate. Goku had saved them from Frieza. They owed them their lives. In a matter of minutes, they gathered the Namekian Dragon Balls, which were much more powerful than Earth's. The sky of Namek turned black, and Porunga, the giant and muscular dragon god, appeared amidst lightning. Piccolo, his voice strained, shouted his first wish. Porunga, break the seal on the door of the hyperbolic time chamber on Earth and bring Goku and Gohan out of there right now. Porunga fell silent for a few seconds. Then, his voice boomed across the planet. I cannot do that. The magic that seals that door was made by another dragon and is reinforced with human technology. Furthermore, Earth is too far away. My power does not reach far enough to break an active seal at such a distance. Piccolo felt like he was going to faint. If he couldn't get them out, they would die. Hours had already passed since he left Earth. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of years must have passed for Goku and Gohan. Surely they were already dead from hunger or old age. But then a desperate idea occurred to Piccolo. If he couldn't get them out of that time prison, he had to make sure time wouldn't affect them. He had to make them endure the punishment. Piccolo raised his head and shouted with all his strength, Porunga, listen to me. If you cannot get them out, then change their bodies. I wish that Goku and Gohan, who are inside that chamber, become immortal. That they never age, that they cannot die from hunger, thirst, sickness, or old age. Grant them eternal life right now. Porunga shone brightly. That wish is possible. A magical light traveled through the universe, crossed the dimensions, and reached Goku and Gohan. Piccolo breathed a sigh of relief. But he knew that wasn't enough. 3,000,000 years without eating would be torture, even if they were immortal. I wish that infinite supplies of delicious food and pure water appear inside that chamber, that they never run out, that they magically appear every time they are hungry. Porunga granted the wish.
Piccolo thought about the third wish. They were already immortal and had food, but 3,000,000 years of boredom would drive them mad. They needed a purpose, so he shouted his last wish. I wish the chamber adapts to them, that their clothes never tear and become heavy for training, and that magical opponents or extreme conditions appear so they can train non-stop for all that time. Porunga granted the third wish and vanished. Piccolo fell to the ground, exhausted. He had done everything he could. He knew he couldn't return to Earth yet. The traitors would kill him if they knew he ruined their murder plot. He would have to stay on Namek and wait. Piccolo looked up at the sky and thought, Gohan, Goku, I'm sorry. I couldn't get you out, but I bought you time. Now it's up to you. When that door opens 3 million years from now for you, I hope you haven't lost your minds, and I hope the traitors are ready for what they are about to unleash. While all this was happening in the mortal universe, in a far-off place, outside of time and space, something terrible was about to happen in the palace of the King of All. Zeno-sama was floating, bored, playing by pushing planets with his finger. Suddenly, the great doors of his palace burst wide open with a dark roar. The guards tried to stop the intruder, but were erased from existence with a single look. The one who entered was not just any god. He was a small being, very similar to Zeno-sama, but with grayish skin and a gaze filled with pure evil. He was Zeno-sama's forgotten brother. The Grand Priest became serious for the first time in millennia and stood in his way. "You are not welcome here," the evil brother smiled and said with a blood-chilling voice. "I didn't come to fight you, servant. I came to see my brother. Zeno, I have returned." Zeno-sama looked at his brother with a bit of fear. He asked, "What do you want?" The evil brother let out a macabre laugh. "The multiverse is a mess. There are too many weak universes. I want to erase everything. I want to destroy all 12 universes, destroy the angels, and start everything from scratch my way, with darkness and silence. But since I know you like games, I propose a deal." Zeno-sama listened attentively. "Let's have a real multiversal tournament. I want a tournament where anything goes. Magic, weapons, death. Invite all universes, all timelines. Bring the warriors from the past and the future. If your warriors win, I will leave and let you be. But if my warriors win, you will give me my position as king of all." Zeno-sama, who deep down trusted his friends and wanted to see exciting fights, accepted the challenge without knowing the real danger he was in. "Yes, tournament! I accept!" Zeno shouted. The evil brother smiled, knowing he had victory secured. Daishinkan looked out into the void, worried. He knew that Zeno's brother had dark warriors that no one knew about. He knew the universe needed its best defenders, and as he looked toward Universe 7 with his staff, he saw something interesting. He saw a small room on Earth where time was running strangely. He saw two Saiyans who had just become immortal, and who had 3 million years ahead of them to train. Daishinkan smiled slightly. Perhaps there was hope. Perhaps when those two emerged from their eternal prison, they would be the only ones capable of facing the darkness that was coming. But for now, Goku and Gohan were just beginning their first day of confinement, unaware that outside, the destiny of all reality was already marked by the war to come.
The Grand Priest traveled at incomprehensible speeds. He visited Universe 1, 11, and 6, leaving all the gods trembling with fear. But his most important, and perhaps most tense, stop was in Universe 7. On Beerus' planet, the god of destruction was taking a nap after a long feast, while Whis tidied up the garden. Suddenly, a column of divine light fell from the sky, so powerful that it woke Beerus abruptly, making him fall from his hammock. Whis, immediately recognizing that energy, dropped his broom and bowed deeply. Beerus, still half asleep but feeling the terror in his gut, quickly knelt when he saw who emerged from the light. It was the Grand Priest. Beerus, with a trembling voice and his forehead pressed to the ground, asked what they owed the honor of such a sudden visit. The Grand Priest wasted no time on cordial greetings. With a cold and serious voice, he informed them that Zeno-sama's evil brother had returned from his exile in the darkness. He told them about the deal. A real multiversal tournament, without rules, where killing was allowed, where anything went. But what truly made Beerus' heart stop was the consequence of losing. The Grand Priest explained that if Zeno-sama's team lost, the evil brother would take the throne, and his first order would be to erase absolutely everything. Not just one universe, but all 12 universes, the realm of the angels, hell, and all timelines. He wanted to restart the creation from scratch, eliminating all current living beings. Beerus turned pale as if he had seen a ghost. He understood that this was not like the Tournament of Power where only their universe was at stake. Here, the very existence of reality was at stake. The Grand Priest looked into Beerus' eyes and told him that the tournament would begin as soon as the arena was ready, which might only take a few Earth days. He ordered him to gather his strongest warriors immediately, specifically mentioning Son Goku, as Zeno-sama trusted him. Having said this, the Grand Priest disappeared in a flash of light, leaving a deathly silence on the planet. Beerus slowly got up, still trembling. Fear quickly turned into desperation and fury. He knew they didn't stand a chance against the Dark Warriors of Zeno's brother if they didn't go with all their power. Beerus looked at Whis and shouted urgently. He ordered him to find Goku and Vegeta immediately. He said he didn't care what they were doing, to drag them back if necessary, because the fate of everything depended on them. Whis, understanding the gravity of the matter, nodded and struck his staff against the ground. The magic sphere at the tip of the staff began to glow, projecting images of the universe as it searched for the Saiyan's energy signature. He found Vegeta quickly. The prince was at Capsule Corp, apparently calm, but when he tried to locate Goku, something strange happened. The image in the staff became blurry, static. Whis frowned. Something very rare for him. He tried searching again, adjusting the dimensional frequency, looking for Goku's divine key, but there was nothing. It was as if Goku had ceased to exist. Whis looked at Beerus with an expression of confusion and told him he couldn't find Goku anywhere. He told him he could see Vegeta on Earth, but there was no trace of Goku. Not on Earth, nor in the other world, nor on any known planet. Beerus was furious. He yelled, asking how it was possible for that idiot to disappear right now. Whis theorized that perhaps he was in a pocket dimension or in a place where time and space functioned differently, which prevented the staff from directly tracking him. Beerus, despairing and on edge, decided they couldn't wait any longer. He told Whis they were going to Earth right now. They were going to interrogate Vegeta and the others. If Goku was playing hide-and-seek, Beerus swore he would destroy him himself before Zeno's brother arrived. In a burst of violent light, both departed for Earth at maximum speed. Meanwhile, the scene changes radically. We leave outer space to enter the white infinite void of the hyperbolic time chamber. But there, things were very different. For the traders outside, only a few hours had passed since they closed the door. But inside, the time was running at a monstrous rate. Goku and Gohan had been trapped there for what felt like years. Decades to them. At first, it was confusion. Goku tried to break down the door 1,000 times, transforming into Super Saiyan Blue, using the Kaioken, but the magical barrier was impenetrable. Gohan, more analytical, tried to find a way out by flying toward the horizon, but the room was infinite. He flew for days and always returned to the same point.
Then came the hunger. Weeks passed without eating. Their stomachs roared with pain, their bodies weakening. They thought they would die of starvation. Gohan, lying on the white ground, apologized to his father for entering, thinking this was the end. But then, something magical happened. Just as they were on the verge of death, a table full of banquets appeared out of nowhere. It was Piccolo's wish taking effect. Goku and Gohan ate desperately, regaining their strength. But the strangest thing came next. Years passed. 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. Goku and Gohan noticed something terrifying yet fascinating. They weren't aging. Gohan looked at his hands and touched his face, realizing he still had the same youthful appearance as when he entered. Goku didn't have a single new gray hair either. They understood that for some magical reason, they had become immortal inside that place. They couldn't die of hunger, they couldn't die of thirst, and time did not wither their bodies. Goku, sitting on the white floor, looked at his son with a seriousness he rarely showed. He told Gohan that he understood what had happened. He told him that their friends had betrayed them, that they had locked them up so time would consume them, but that someone had helped them survive. Goku stood up, clenched his fists, and his aura burst out. He told Gohan they weren't going to waste that eternity crying. He told him that if they were going to be locked up for millions of years, then they would train until their bodies broke and put themselves back together. He swore that when they got out, they would be so strong that not even the gods could touch them. And so began the most brutal training in Saiyan history. Centuries passed, then millennia. Goku and Gohan fought without rest, only combat.
They hit each other with all their power, launched energy blasts that would shake galaxies, healed thanks to their immortality, and fought again. Goku focused on a single goal, Ultra Instinct. He knew that activating it for moments was not enough. He needed to live in that state. He spent thousands of years meditating in the middle of nothingness until Ultra Instinct ceased to be a transformation and became his natural state. His hair became permanently silver. His gaze became tranquil, but devoid of doubt. He no longer thought to strike. His body was a divine entity that reacted to existence itself. Goku had left behind the concept of mortality. Gohan, for his part, took a different path. His mixed blood potential, combined with immortality and the constant influence of his father's divine ki, began to mutate. Gohan did not seek the calmness of the angels. He sought controlled fury, explosive power. For millennia, Gohan pushed his ultimate state to the limit, breaking his barriers again and again. His ki began to change color, turning from white to an intense, violent red, mixing with flashes of divine ki. Both warriors no longer spoke much. After 100,000 years, words were redundant. Only the clash of their fists existed. They understood each other with a glance. They were father and son, but they were also the only companions in the White Hell. Their bond became unbreakable, forged in the fire of an eternity of solitude. They knew that barely a few hours had passed outside, but for them, their former lives were like a distant, blurry dream. They were no longer the same. They were something more, something ancient and powerful. Returning to Earth, the situation was about to explode. In the garden of Capsule Corp, Vegeta was sitting drinking something cold, trying to ignore the guilt he felt deep in his heart. Krillin and the others were nearby, acting nervous, constantly looking at the sky. Suddenly, a pillar of light fell in the middle of the garden, destroying a table and raising dust. When the smoke cleared, Beerus and Whis appeared. Beerus's face showed little patience. His yellow eyes glowed with contained fury. Vegeta jumped up, spilling his drink, and along with the others bowed quickly. "Lord Beerus, what a surprise! We weren't expecting your visit," Vegeta said, trying to maintain composure, though he was trembling inside. Beerus walked slowly toward Vegeta, ignoring the others. He stopped an inch from his face, staring intently. "Save the courtesy, Vegeta," Beerus said with a guttural voice. "I don't have time for games. The universe is in danger of being completely erased, and I need my best warriors. Whis cannot find Goku anywhere. Tell me right now, where is Son Goku?"
The tension was maxed out. Krillin swallowed loudly. Yamcha stepped back. Vegeta felt cold sweat run down his forehead. He knew he couldn't lie to a god of destruction, but if he told the truth, if he said they had locked up their best warrior in a temporal prison from which they couldn't take him out for 3 days, which would be 3 million years, Beerus would probably destroy them all right there for their stupidity. Vegeta opened his mouth to speak, searching for an excuse, but Beerus, impatient, raised his hand. "If you lie to me, Vegeta, I swear I will destroy this planet before you can blink. Where is Goku?" Vegeta, with cold sweat running down his temple and his pride shattered, understood there was no longer room for lies. He looked up and spoke. He confessed everything. He told him he wouldn't find Kakarot on this planet or in the other world because they, his own comrades, had banished him. With a firm voice, yet laden with an internal darkness, Vegeta explained that Goku's power had become an existential threat, a beacon of chaos that attracted beings capable of erasing reality. He told them they had used the Dragon Balls and Bulma's technology not to kill him, but to lock him in the hyperbolic time chamber. He told Beerus they had altered the temporal flow. He confessed they had requested 1 day outside to be 1 million years inside. Beerus's reaction was not an immediate explosion. It was a terrifying silence. The ball of destructive energy in his hand slowly dissipated, not because he had calmed,
but because the shock of human stupidity had momentarily left him speechless. Beerus lowered his hand and looked at Vegeta, then at Krillin, then at Bulma. His expression shifted from fury to absolute contempt. Beerus broke the silence with a low voice, almost a whisper that made the ground tremble beneath their feet. He told Vegeta they were the most imbecilic race in the entire multiverse. He told them they hadn't the slightest idea what they had just done. Beerus took a step forward and, without warning, delivered a kick to Vegeta's stomach that sent him flying through several Capsule Corp buildings. No one moved. Beerus yelled that he would never forgive this betrayal. He looked at the Earthlings and told them if they survived what was coming, he himself would return to destroy Earth atom by atom, slowly and painfully, as punishment for their arrogance, but to consider themselves dead. Vegeta, emerging from the rubble, coughing up blood and clutching his abdomen, walked back towards the god. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He asked what this terrible thing was that was about to happen. It was then that Whis, with his unusually serious face, struck his staff against the ground to command attention. He told them about the Grand Priest's visit, about the return of Zeno-sama's evil brother, and about the real multiversal tournament. He explained it wouldn't be a sports tournament. It was a war for the throne of existence. And, most importantly, the timing. Whis revealed that although the Grand Priest hadn't given an exact time, they wouldn't have weeks or months. They had, at best, 24 hours before the arena in the World of Void was finished and the mandatory summons resonated across the 12 universes. A single day. The number fell like a stone slab. 3 warriors. Bills, desperate, grabbed his head and screamed, asking for Gohan. He knew Goku's son had a hidden potential that sometimes surpassed his father's. If they had Vegeta and Gohan, maybe, just maybe, they might have a chance. But Vegeta, his gaze fixed on the ground, had to drop the second bomb. Gohan was inside too. Gohan had entered with Goku and was suffering the same 3 million year sentence. Bills' roar of fury was heard across the planet, causing sudden storms in the oceans. They had lost 2 of the 3 warriors in a single stupid move. Only Vegeta remained. Universe 7 was practically sentenced to total elimination. In the midst of the despair, they began to look for options. They had to fill the slots or they would be disqualified and erased before they even started. They thought of Frieza, but he was dead and in hell. Bringing him back would require the Dragon Balls, which were now useless stones because of the betrayal wish. They thought of Majin Buu, but they knew that in a death tournament his limited intelligence would be a fatal risk. Then a name lit up in Vegeta's mind. Broly, the legendary Saiyan living on planet Vampa. Vegeta looked at Whis and proposed going for him immediately. He was the perfect solution, the brute force they needed to compensate for Goku's absence. However, to everyone's surprise, Whis firmly shook his head. The angel explained, with cold and devastating logic, why Broly was not a viable option. He told them this tournament wouldn't be like the last one. The warriors the other universes would bring, and especially the Dark Warriors of Zeno's brother, were not simple brute force fighters. They were assassins with magical techniques. Broly had power, yes, but he had no control. Whis said that in such a scenario, Broly would be easily manipulated, or worse, he would lose his mind and attack his own team, leading to their immediate disqualification and death. Furthermore, Broly's base power without transforming was far inferior to the current Vegeta's divine phases. They didn't have time to teach Broly to control his legendary state in a single day. Taking him would be strategic suicide. The option was discarded. There was no one else. The reality was that Universe 7 only had one divine-level warrior available. Bills looked at the prince with a mixture of hatred and need, and lifted him by the collar of his armor. He told him that now the entire weight of existence fell on his shoulders.
He told him that since he had been the architect of locking up his rival, that he would now have to fight for both of them. He would have to become strong enough in 24 hours to face the threats of the entire multiverse alone. Whis intervened and said the only way to utilize those hours was to take Vegeta to his own pocket dimension, inside his staff, where time flowed differently and the atmosphere was charged with pure divine energy. It would be an infernal training, designed to break Vegeta's body and spirit and reassemble him into a stronger version. Vegeta accepted without hesitation. He said goodbye to Bulma with a simple look, a look that said he might not return, and vanished in a flash of light along with Whis. The day on Earth passed with agonizing slowness.
The Z-Fighters remained at Kami's lookout, alongside Beerus, who paced back and forth like a caged lion, stress-eating but enjoying nothing. The sky changed color as the hours passed, and Beerus knew that for every minute that went by on Earth, centuries, millennia were passing in the hyperbolic time chamber. He wondered if Goku and Gohan were already dead, turned to dust and forgotten by history. Finally, the deadline was met. Exactly 24 hours later, the sky across the entire universe fractured. It didn't darken, it broke like a mirror, revealing a multicolored light that did not belong to this plane of existence. A massive dimensional rift opened directly above Kami's lookout, where Beerus waited. From inside that divine light, they were the two Zeno-samas, the present and the future one, floating cheerfully, and in front of them, the Grand Priest, Daishin-kan, descended with elegance. Beerus immediately knelt, his forehead pressed to the ground, sweating profusely. Just at that moment, Whis and Vegeta reappeared from their training. Vegeta looked terrible. His armor was shattered, his body covered in bruises and scars, and his ki felt unstable, aggressive, but immensely greater than before. He had survived Whis' hell. Vegeta also knelt upon seeing the supreme deities. The Zeno-samas looked around with their large, innocent eyes, searching among those present. "Where is he? Where is Goku?" they asked in unison with childlike voices. "We want to see Goku! Goku is fun!" The moment Beerus feared most had arrived. He had to tell them the truth, or at least a part of it, without being erased for incompetence. Beerus, swallowing hard, looked up and explained the situation with the humblest voice he could find. He told them Goku was unavailable. He partially lied, saying that due to a lamentable accident caused by the universe's instability, Goku and Gohan had been trapped in a training dimension and wouldn't be able to exit for 2 more days. He didn't mention the betrayal to avoid infuriating Zeno with human pettiness, but he made it clear they could not participate. The disappointment on the faces of the Zeno-samas was palpable. The sky seemed to darken with their sadness. "How boring," they said, shoulders slumping. "Without Goku, it's not fun. We wanted to see Goku fight." The Grand Priest, however, showed no sadness, only a calculating coldness. His violent eyes scanned Vegeta, evaluating his power in an instant. Then he looked at Beerus and told him it was truly a shame. He reminded him that Zeno's evil brother would not wait a second longer, and that the rules were absolute. A maximum of 3 warriors, but they had to be presented now. If Universe 7 only had Vegeta, then Vegeta would have to fight for all 3 slots. They were at a suicidal disadvantage. Beerus nodded, accepting his fate. The Grand Priest raised his hand to open the definitive portal to the world of Void, where the combat arena was already floating in the emptiness. "Let's go," the Grand Priest ordered. Beerus and Whis took Vegeta and began to rise toward the portal. But just before leaving, the Grand Priest did something no one expected. He stopped in the air. His omniscient gaze turned downward towards the lookout, fixing directly on the sealed door of the hyperbolic time chamber. The Grand Priest could see through Shenron's magic. He could see the temporal distortion. He knew something no one else knew. He knew that inside, time was forging something that escaped the comprehension of mortals and even gods. In a move so fast, it seemed like teleportation, the Grand Priest appeared in front of Dende and Mr. Popo, who were trembling on the ground. The Grand Priest extended his hand and materialized a small object out of thin air. It was a button, similar to the one Zeno had given Goku years ago. But this one had a different symbol,
an insignia representing the current tournament. The Grand Priest handed the button to Dende and spoke to him with a voice that resonated in the Namekian's mind. "Listen carefully, Guardian of Earth. I know Goku and his son are inside there. I know eons are passing for them. It is likely that when that door opens, if they manage to survive the eternity, what emerges will no longer be the Saiyans you once knew. If the door opens," the Grand Priest continued, "and if they are still sane, hand them this and tell them to press it. This button will break the dimensional barriers and bring them directly to the tournament arena, no matter what universe they are in. It is a delayed entry. Zeno-sama wants to see his friend." Having said this, the Grand Priest turned his back and returned to the sky, joining the Zeno-samas, Beerus, and Vegeta. The group crossed the portal and disappeared from Earth, leaving behind an absolute silence, going to find the other participants from the other universes.
The story takes us for a moment to that place forgotten by God, the hyperbolic time chamber. But it no longer looked white and pure as before. The atmosphere felt heavy, dark, as if the air itself was rotten from the pressure of so many accumulated millions of years. The image distorts, full of shadows and static, showing barely two silhouettes sitting in the middle of nowhere. They no longer look human, they looked like ancient beasts. Their hair had grown long, their clothes no longer existed, they were just scraps of old fabric clinging to muscles that seemed made of steel. In the midst of that mind-numbing silence, a voice was heard. It was not the cheerful voice of Goku that everyone knew. It was a deep, hoarse voice, rusted by disuse. A voice that sounded as if it came from the bottom of a deep cave. Goku, his gaze lost in the void, but with a strange fire in his eyes, broke the silence of centuries and said with terrifying coldness, "Gohan, it's time. We have to get out of this hell, once and for all." The camera slowly pulls away, leaving that feeling of terror, because what was inside were no longer the warriors who entered. Meanwhile, the scene changes drastically to the world of void. The atmosphere was suffocating. The combat arena floated in a space of purple and black colors, built by the evil magic of Zeno-sama's brother. The gods of destruction of the allied universes, 6, 7, and 11, were in the stands sweating cold. The rules were clear and brutal. Only 8 warriors in total to defend all of reality. If they lost, everything would be erased and restarted from scratch. The lineup was the last hope. For Universe 7, there was only Vegeta. The Saiyan Prince stood, eyes closed and arms crossed, carrying the responsibility of 3 slots alone, knowing that if he failed, his wife and children would cease to exist. For Universe 6, there was the legendary assassin Hit, hands in his pockets and his cold gaze, along with the 2 Saiyans Kaulifa and Kale, who looked much stronger and more serious thanks to Vadis's infernal training. And for Universe 11, the Walls of Justice, Jiren meditating in silence, and Topo, with his God of Destruction orb ready to burst. On the other side of the arena, the warriors of Zeno-sama's brother appeared. They were strange dark beings who came from erased timelines and dead universes. They said nothing, only watched with eyes full of malice. The Grand Priest, Daishinkan, raised his hand and gave the signal. The tournament for existence had begun. The first fight was announced. Hit walked calmly to the center of the arena. His opponent leaped from the darkness. He was a giant warrior from Multiverse 2, Universe 13. A humanoid lion-like being, dressed in an emerald green tunic that billowed with his energy. He had a bright golden mane and claws that seemed capable of cutting metal. The fight started abruptly. Hit wasted no time and used his time skip, disappearing from view and reappearing behind the lion to strike his vital points. But to the surprise of everyone, including Choppa, who was yelling from the stands, the lion blocked the blow without even looking. Hit retreated and tried again, attacking from multiple angles at an impossible speed. The fight looked evenly matched. Blows went back and forth, shockwaves vibrated the platform. Hit thought he had a chance, that his technique was working. But then the Lion Warrior stopped one of Hit's blows with a single hand and let out a macabre laugh that echoed throughout the arena. With a deep, mocking voice, he said, "Interesting trick, assassin. But the warm-up is over. Now, let's go all out." In that instant, the air became heavy. The lion released his 100% power suddenly. It was an explosion of golden energy that blinded everyone. Before Hit could react or activate his technique, the lion was already in front of him. It was a single movement, a single punch directly to his chest. The sound was dry and brutal, as if every bone was breaking at once. Hit spat blood, his eyes rolled back, and he was sent flying like a cannonball off the platform, falling unconscious into the stands. The silence was absolute. Hit, the legendary assassin, had been defeated with a single blow. Beerus swallowed, realizing that the level of these enemies was absurd. The Lion Warrior remained in the center, roaring and calling for his next victim. Desperation began to set in among the Alliance. They knew that if they sent anyone weak, they would die. It was then that Vadis, the Angel of Universe 6, proposed a risky idea. Khalifa and Kale were strong, but separately, they wouldn't last a second against that monster. They needed to fuse, but they didn't have the Potara earrings, and the dance took time. Vada said she would use an ancient spell, allowed by the special rules of this chaotic tournament. Vadis raised her staff and cast a bright light over the two girls. Khalifa and Kale glowed intensely. Their bodies were pulled together and merged in a burst of green light. When the light faded, there stood Kefla, but she was not the same as before. Her power was gigantic, a perfect blend of talent and raw strength. By fusing, they sacrificed 2 warrior slots, but it was worth it. Kefla jumped into the arena with a confident smile, cracking her knuckles.
The lion looked at her with contempt and lunged into the attack, throwing claws of energy that sliced through the air. Kefla, laughing, began to dodge everything with an insulting ease. She moved from side to side, mocking the lion. "Hey, kitty, is that all you've got?" Kefla shouted. The lion became enraged and increased his speed, but Kefla responded with bursts of green and red ki that forced him back. The battle became frenetic, explosions everywhere. Kefla proved that her base power was already superior. At one point, Kefla stopped in the air and said, "I'm bored now. Using 20% of my power will be enough to put you to sleep." Kefla's aura surged suddenly, and with a speed the lion couldn't follow, she connected a spinning kick to his face, followed by a point-blank energy sphere. The lion went flying, crashing through several rocks in the arena and falling out, eliminated. The allied gods shouted with excitement. The fusion had worked. But the joy lasted very little. From the enemy's side, the next warrior descended. When the light hit his face, Jiren, who was meditating, opened his eyes wide. The enemy was identical to him. He was of his own race, with those large black eyes, but his skin was a dark gray tone, almost charcoal, and he had a strange tuft of hair on his head. His energy felt the same as Jiren's, but corrupt and evil. This dark Jiren landed in front of Kefla and looked at her like trash. Without even taking a guard stance, he began to boast. He told her with a cold voice to stop playing, to use her 100% at once. Kefla, who was still in her base state, felt insulted. "Nobody talks to me like that, Baldy!" and lunged into the attack. But this time, it was different. Dark Jiren didn't even move. He took Kefla's blows to the body and didn't even blink. Then, with a simple hand movement, he sent Kefla flying into the ground. Kefla stood up furious, spitting out dirt. She knew she had to get serious. "All right, you asked for it," she screamed. The sky of the void turned green. Kefla transformed into legendary Super Saiyan. Her hair spiked up and turned green, her muscles grew slightly, and her power multiplied bestially. The battle restarted, and now it was truly a war. The two clashed in the air, creating waves that made the spectators tremble. Dark Jiren launched invisible strikes, but Kefla, in her legendary state, was an unstoppable fighting machine. Little by little, the Saiyans' raw strength began to overcome the enemy's technique. Kefla unleashed a war cry and concentrated all her energy into a final attack, a double red and green beam that hit Dark Jiren head-on. The enemy fell. Kefla panted, tired but victorious. Thanks to Vados' spell, the fusion did not break from energy depletion, so she remained ready to fight. That was when the atmosphere changed completely. The temperature dropped drastically. A bone-chilling cold was felt. The third enemy warrior floated down slowly. He made no sound as he touched the ground. He was a tall, very thin being with dead gray skin
and completely white eyes without pupils. He wore a tattered robe and did not give off ki, but a sensation of pure death.
I am Aknar, the god of death.
Kefla, confident after winning 2 fights in a row, wiped away her sweat and smiled. God of death or whatever, I'm gonna kick you out of here. And lunged at full speed with her fist charged with legendary energy, ready to end this quickly.
Aknar didn't move. He didn't raise his guard. He only raised an index finger and pointed at Kefla. At the moment Kefla was about to hit him, Aknar whispered a strange word. Suddenly, an invisible, dry, and devastating blow impacted Kefla's chest. It wasn't a physical strike. It was as if death itself had touched her. Kefla's eyes rolled back instantly. The legendary transformation dissolved, and the fusion fell to the ground like a rag doll, completely defeated. Vados's spell broke from the impact, and the 2 girls, Kefla and Kale, appeared separated and unconscious outside the arena. Fear took hold of everyone. No one saw the attack. No one understood what happened. Aknar stood there, finger raised, without any emotion. Topo, the leader of the Pride Troopers and a candidate for God of Destruction of Universe 11, couldn't stand seeing that. He jumped into the arena with a roar of fury. He knew he couldn't hold back. From the first second, Topo activated his Hakai Shin mode. His body swelled with muscles, his skin darkened, and the purple aura of destruction surrounded him.
Justice against death,
Topo cried. The fight was a spectacle of dark lights. Topo launched Hakai spheres, energy capable of erasing anything, but Aknar deflected them with his bare hands as if they were flies. Topo attacked with raw strength, breaking the ground, trying to crush the god of death. Aknar moved like a ghost, dodging by millimeters. The battle was epic, lasting several minutes where it seemed Topo could win through sheer power. But Aknar grew tired. He used a dark technique, a black mist that enveloped Topo and nullified his aura of destruction. Before Topo could react, Aknar appeared in front of him and placed his hand on his chest. A gray flash, and Topo was sent flying toward the stands, defeated and drained of energy. Universe 11 was in shock. Only their strongest card remained, Jiren. Jiren stood up. He said nothing. He made no poses. He just walked toward the arena. His presence was so strong that even Aknar involuntarily took a step back. Jiren stood before the god of death. Aknar tried to use his invisible strike technique again, pointing his finger, but Jiren simply opened his eyes wider than usual. A red flash shone in his gaze, and with pure mental force, he dissipated the death strike before it touched him. Aknar was surprised for the first time. Jiren gave him no time to think. With a simple movement, a direct punch that didn't seem to have technique but carried the strength of an entire galaxy, Jiren struck Aknar. The god of death couldn't even scream. He went flying at an absurd speed, piercing through the void and disappearing into the darkness. Jiren had taken him out with a single blow. The 4th enemy warrior descended. His name was Kanbo, a mountain of muscles covered in scars. He roared and tried to crush Jiren. Jiren didn't even lift his hands. With just the pressure of his gaze, he created a wall of air that hit Kanbo and pushed him out of the arena like he was paper. Jiren was absolute. He was on another level, far above what he showed in the previous tournament, thanks to his constant mental training. The 5th warrior came down, a sorcerer who tried to use illusions. Jiren closed his eyes, detected his real presence, and launched a simple energy sphere that knocked him off the platform. Jiren was sweeping the enemy team by himself, using barely 40% of his real power. The allied gods began to have hope. Jiren can do it, they shouted. But then the 6th warrior descended. This one was different. A swordsman from a crystal dimension. His speed rivaled Jiren's. The battle was epic and long. Energy swords clashed against Jiren's fists. The sound of metal and energy echoed in the void. Jiren had to get serious, increasing his power, sweating, blocking slashes that could slice through planets. After a brutal exchange of blows that lasted several minutes, Jiren managed to find an opening, broke the enemy's sword, and connected a kick that sent him out of the arena. Jiren had won, but he was panting. He looked exhausted. He had spent a lot of energy fighting consecutively. And that was when the tragedy occurred.